Oh my gosh. And I don't even have Arya in my fantasy Game of Thrones draft. Ugh. Hey guys, it's Katie, and I'm gonna be recapping and reviewing Season 8, Episode 3 of Game of Thrones, The Battle of Winterfell. If you are not caught up, get out of here. Just go. Guys, I don't even know where to begin. You know, I usually do these recaps and reviews like chronologically, but honestly, I don't even think I could do that with this episode. First of all, that was like one of the most incredible battle sequences I've ever seen, and it was stunning at the same time. I love the way that they found little character moments in between all of the epic battling and fighting, and oh my gosh. So basically this episode just opens with everyone readying for battle, which we've seen before, but now, you know, at the end of last week's episode, we saw the Night King was there. Everyone needed to be ready for this epic battle. Oh my gosh, guys, I was stressed to no end, I have to say. So then, of course, you know, they're basically marching on out there and they're all ready to go and everyone looks so semi-confident, and all of a sudden we see Melisandre just show up. It's like, one, where did you come from? Two, how'd you get around the army of the dead? Three, who cares? It's Game of Thrones, we're just gonna ignore it and move on. We see Melisandre show up. I personally have been waiting for her. Thank goodness I had her in my fantasy Game of Thrones draft. We've been waiting for her to come back. I personally wanted to know what the heck was up with her, why she was this crazy old lady, and I really wanted them to explain that. But she shows up and I was like, great, I'm glad she's joining this battle. Hopefully she can be helpful. And she asks all of the Dothraki to raise their weapons, and they do, and she lights them all on fire, which is so epic. It was such a cool moment, and I was like, yes, great, Melisandre. Can you do more stuff like that, please? Because I think we're gonna need it. And we did. Obviously, Davos sees Melisandre. They have a quick little interaction where she's like, no need to execute me because I'll be, you know, dead before the morning light, whatever she says. She just basically tells him that no need to kill her because she's already gonna be dead. And great, I guess that was a spoiler that she gave us, but we didn't exactly know how she was gonna go. So the moment that there were so many cool moments in this episode, but one of the coolest moments was seeing the Dothraki ride out there and then watching all of their all of the flames go out from their weapons, and just realizing how dire this situation is. And I'm not gonna lie, when I saw that, I was like, I knew that this battle was going to be intense, and I knew that the Night King's army was gonna be crazy, but oh my gosh, like that was the best representation. That was just such a cool moment, and I really loved it. And then of course you see Jorah riding on back, and you see some of the Dothraki have been dehorsed and they're running themselves back to the Winterfell, and Jorah gives a look, and you just know things are about to get real bad. From there, we basically get Dany and Jon. They're with the dragons. You know, Dany wants to do something and get out there, and I'm personally just kind of like, yeah, get on out there. And once they finally do, it's awesome. It's like, great, we get some dragon fire up in here. We get Jon and Dany, you know, teaming up because that's what we need. But then we get those winds of winter, man, which like completely foil their plans, because Dany and Jon are missing the signals, you know, back from the walls of Winterfell, and they're supposed to light up. Oh gosh, there's just so many things that happen that were this stupid Night King and his stupid ideas. So basically Jon and Dany start getting completely lost. They can't see a thing in this crazy winter storm. We get Dolorous Edd, who dies saving Sam, which was such a sad and sweet moment. I just love that Sam was out there fighting alongside everyone, and that was just such a nice moment, but it was also really sad seeing Dolorous Edd die. Literally, this episode was filled with this person's in trouble, this person saves them, this person is in trouble, then this person saves them. I mean, Arya saves the Hound saves Arya. It is crazy. There's just so many things. I can't even go play by play with this episode. It is just so difficult. I think the thing that was the most stressful was the fact that Dany and Jon were supposed to light up the trenches and they couldn't see the signal. So Melisandre walks on out there, and I knew she'd pull it off. You know, they kind of wanted us to be a little bit on edge in that moment, but I knew she'd pull it off at the very last possible second, which was, you know, I kind of, like, we all kind of know stuff like that's gonna happen, or at least we hope for it, so we're sitting on edge, but at the same time we're like, no, she's gonna be able to do it. But still, you get this huge sigh of relief when stuff like that happens, because you never know with this show. They can just totally go against everything that you're thinking, and, but I had a huge sigh of relief, even though I was like, she's gonna pull it off. So that was a really nice moment. Didn't last too long because the army of the dead knew that if enough bodies piled on top of the fire, they could just climb right on over. Just make a big old body pile. Back down in the crypt, we do get a really awesome moment between Sansa and Tyrion, which was such a small moment, but it was really nice to kind of get these little fun moments in between all of the crazy chaos that was happening. But Tyrion says to Sansa, we should have stayed married, and Sansa said, you were the best of them. And they kind of had this nice little moment, which I really enjoyed, which only got better later on, which I'll get to. Okay, so then we get Theon and Bran. All right, Theon has vowed to protect Bran, and this is great, you know, so far so good. And Bran's like, okay, I'm gonna go now. And Bran just wargs into a crow. And I'm like, Bran, what are you doing? Why are you warging into a crow? What is that even gonna do? Nothing. It did nothing. I don't think it did anything. Did I miss something? Because I was like, Bran, what's going on here? Like, obviously he found the Night King was there. Great. We established the Night King is there. But Bran, what? Can you warg into something else? Couldn't you have warged into a dragon or I don't know, anything? What can Bran just do something to help? Because I was just pissed off the entire time, like Bran's just sitting there and he's a crow. What's he doing? But that is really the first moment that we see the Night King on his ice dragon, looking all menacing, and then of course he's got to go after Dany and Jon, and you know, I feel like Dany and Jon just totally played into his trap. You know, coming above the storm is like the perfect spot because then he could try to attack them. So basically now everyone is retreating back inside of Winterfell, and they're just trying to keep the army of the dead out. That's not really working, okay? We have Brienne, we have Sam, we have Jaime. We're seeing all of these people and they are just surrounded. And at any second, I'm thinking, oh, that one's gonna die, that one's gonna die, that one's gonna die. Like, it is going to just be a disaster here. And we have the Hound, who is completely terrified and even makes a comment like, we're all gonna die anyway, you can't fight the dead, and I'm done. But he sees Arya is in peril and somehow just snaps out of it, which is great. I have been waiting for more Arya Hound moments. I wish, well, I guess both of them are the type of people who communicate via battle versus communicate with their words, so it worked for me. One of the coolest moments for me was seeing Arya fight with her spear, which was awesome. That was really, really cool. So then, all of a sudden, Game of Thrones turns into a crazy horror movie, and we have Arya inside, and she is just trying her best to not get detected by these terrifying whites. So she's like hiding behind bookcases and trying to get around them, and I'm like, they're gonna find her. They're just this. I don't do well in horror movies, so it's best for me in those situations to just be like, and they're dead, let them go. And I was like, oh god, I do not want to watch Arya die in this moment, but I knew that we still had that scene from the trailers coming up, hopefully, of her like running through Winterfell. So I was like, oh man, at some point, she's gonna be getting chased. This is just gonna be bad. They find her, they chase after her, and then, you know, there's just so many moments of you think she's safe and she's not. You think she's safe and she's not. And that was crazy. And of course, then Arya at the last second is saved by the Hound and Beric Dondarrion, which was, again, such a cool moment, such a cool fight sequence. The choreography and production value alone in this episode, it should just be award-winning. If they don't win all the Emmys for this episode, then Hollywood is stupid, because this episode was stunning, and it was just, the production value of it was just amazing, and I loved the choreography of the entire fight sequence and how one thing led into another thing. So I loved seeing Beric and the Hound show up. Not gonna lie, totally thought Beric was gonna be able to give his breath of life to someone. Thought it was gonna be Arya maybe, because, you know, we saw her almost dead, and that's kind of what I was thinking, that he'd give, you know, his life for someone's, but no, they just kill off Beric, and I was like, ah, that kind of felt like a waste, because I feel like he could have given that to a character who had died, but he ended up, you know, basically saving the Hound and Arya. At least he got to die in semi-peace. I mean, they have a moment of safety, and Melisandre just happens to be there, and it was kind of cool to see Arya and Melisandre have a moment together, but you know, we had Beric not make it, and Melisandre's like, well, he's done all he was meant to do. And I was like, oh, no, he's not. He hasn't done everything he was meant to do. Come on. So that's kind of one of the things that I was hoping, especially as a book reader, because I feel like that would have been really cool to see, but oh well. So now we get this epic dragon on dragon, Jon against the Night King, this epic battle between the dragons. I don't know how Jon was even able to stay on Rhaegal that long, because that was insane. And then we see like just the dragons are just like tearing each other apart, and I'm like freaking out because I'm like, no more, don't stop killing all the dragons. Like I don't want Rhaegal and I don't want Drogon to die. And so I'm just kind of sitting there on edge like, please don't kill them, please. So then we see the Night King falls off of his ice dragon, and Dany sees him there and she says Dracarys, and I'm like, ooh, cool moment. Not gonna work. Why? I think the Night King's a Targaryen. Just saying. I don't know. Why else? I mean, I don't know. That's just, I don't know. That's just kind of my theory. Like, if he wasn't able to be killed by dragonfire, then maybe he used to be a Targaryen. Who knows? There's so many theories about the Night King. Wish we could have dived into them at all throughout this season, or the series in general. So, you know, we kind of see him emerge from the flames and he's just fine. Jon flies off of Rhaegal. We don't know if Rhaegal's dead or not, so that was a scary moment. The dumbest thing happens of the whole episode, where Jon's on the ground, Dany lands on Drogon, and all she says is, go! Do you really need to tell Jon to go? Why not tell him to get on the dragon and fly him there? Why are you telling him to just run through the whole battle? And why did you land Drogon? That was the dumbest thing ever. Why? I was like screaming at the television. I was like, why would you land Drogon? Because 2 seconds later, you see all these whites just climbing up Drogon, and you know, Drogon's trying to shake them all off. Dany falls off. Drogon goes into the sky, and you're like, great, now Drogon's gonna be dead. He's been like stabbed and slashed thousands of times, and you know, you're seeing all these whites falling off, and then now Dany is just in the middle of this battlefield. She can't fight. Like, what? What are you doing to me, show? It was such a dumb move. Why would she land Drogon? She wouldn't. Nah, that really bugged me. So Jon's all running in, doesn't even know what happened to Dany, and you know, he sees the Night King, he's running towards him, and of course, the Night King's just like rising up all the dead army, and just now his army is a billion times bigger. Jon should have been dead in 1 second. Like, let's be real, but you know, he's a superhero. And he managed to fend them off, and the Night King's like, I'm gonna go for Bran now. And meanwhile, Dany's about to die. In comes Jorah. And that's one of those things that makes sense to me for people who are like, whoa, Jorah just magically appears to save Dany. Jorah's one of those people in my mind that I think always has his eye on Dany, because Dany's always been his #1 priority, his #1 goal. He loves her more than anything else on the planet. I feel like Jorah's one of those people, no matter where Dany is, he knows. He has some sort of peripheral eyes on her at all times. And I think the second he saw that dragon land, he beelined over toward where Dany probably would have been, especially if he saw her fall off. That's a little bit more believable for me, only because of how much Jorah loves Dany. Oh, and then watching them both fight side by side, and Dany just trying her best to fight, and Jorah is just taking slash after slash. He would never let anything happen to Dany, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't want to get teared up. I love Jorah so much, and for me, I think that probably was my favorite. There's so many favorite moments in this episode, but I loved watching Jorah literally fight to the death to save Dany. I think that's always what he wanted to do. I think that's just what his purpose was, and I think he knew that, and he wouldn't let anything happen to her. So I do have to say that was the biggest tearjerker moment for me, was just watching Jorah. He hadn't even died. He was just taking all these hits for her, and I was just like, no, not Jorah. So of course, when the Night King raised the army back up, he also manages to raise the dead in the crypts, which, who's been saying that from the beginning? This one. This one, this one, this one. That was like one of my predictions that I had said from the beginning about this season, that something was gonna happen in the crypts, and that I thought that, you know, but I kind of talked myself out of that theory, because I was like, I thought the Night King had to have a certain window to be able to raise the dead, not just raise whatever dead he can come across. So I don't really know how the magic works. I don't think it made sense based upon the knowledge of magic we've learned so far. It was also interesting that we didn't see like dead family members, like dead Stark family members. So that was really interesting, but Now everyone in the crypts were screwed, and I was like, oh my gosh, this could be the end for some of my favorite characters. Like, one of my other favorite moments, of course, is when they're all rushing in back into Winterfell. We see Lyanna Mormont, and all of a sudden this huge, just dead giant comes just barging through Winterfell, and she gets thrown across the courtyard, and she gets right back up, and the giant just picks her up, and he is just crushing her and picking her up, and she's so smart. I'm so happy, because I was like, no, can't just throw her aside and kill her, but she's got to fight, she's got to do something. And she found her moment of opportunity, stabs him in the eye. Such a great moment for her. I absolutely loved that. It was sad to see her die, but she came back. So then we get this really amazing moment where basically everyone's getting slaughtered in the crypts, and we see Tyrion and Sansa. And I loved this moment because Sansa pulls out the dagger that Arya had given her previously in the episode, and it was just such a nice moment. Tyrion kisses Sansa's hand, and I literally thought that this was the end for them. I'm not gonna lie, I was like, okay, I guess we're saying goodbye to Sansa and Tyrion, which would just be so sad. And then, you know, we see them move around a little bit. We see that Varys is still alive down there, and he's kind of huddled with a bunch of kids, and you're just thinking to yourself, like, wow, how are they gonna get out of this one? Finally getting to the end here. Oh my gosh. So basically we come back to Theon and Bran. Bran is still warged into crows. Why? I don't know. What's he doing? I don't know. Is he being helpful at all? No. We have Theon, though, who is just taking out every single white that is just coming at him, and he is just slicing them down, and it was such a cool moment. You know, he basically takes a moment to breathe, and you just see them all standing there, and they part, and we see that the Night King and the White Walkers are with him. What is going to happen now? Who is even left to do anything? I'm like, Drogon's up in the sky, Rhaegal's probably dead, Jon didn't make it there because he's trying to avoid getting completely blasted to pieces by an ice dragon. Everyone else is in the middle of an epic battle. What's gonna happen here? We do get a really, really awesome moment of closure for Theon where Bran tells him, "You're a good man, thank you." And Theon, in that moment, he wasn't a coward. He knew he was gonna die, and he strode boldly forth right for the Night King, but unsuccessfully. He gets stabbed and falls, and I was thinking, well, maybe if he had dragon glass, you know, he could just like stab him, but no, it didn't work out. But Theon did die a hero, which was awesome. Bran, you know, is now just defenseless and sitting there. The Night King goes for him, and they have like this weird moment of just looking at each other. The Night King doesn't say anything. He just kind of turns his head a little bit and looks at Bran, goes to grab for his sword dagger, and I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was gonna be all over for Bran. I thought, unless Bran's gonna pull something, like I literally thought, okay, well, Bran, why would he have been warging into a crow this entire time? Like, there's gotta be a plan here. Something has to happen that Bran has planned. Like, maybe the Night King fell into Bran's trap. Nope, I was wrong. Bran warging into a crow meant nothing. And all of a sudden we just see an Arya, just this epic slow motion coming in for the Night King, but the Night King sees her, turns around, grabs her, and she drops the dagger, and I'm thinking, this is it. This is it for Arya, she's dead. But nope, drops the dagger, grabs it with the other hand, bam, Night King, poof. Night King's army, poof, was the craziest thing. Ugh, I'm not gonna lie, huge sigh of relief. It was awesome, it was so great. All these characters were about to die. Something drastic had to happen. The Night King had to fall. I knew that that would probably happen, I just didn't think it would be Arya, and that was a really cool moment. Overall, this episode was so great because of the production value and the grand scale of it, and watching these characters in this epic battle sequence was just so cool. I loved the little moments between the characters that they threw in there in between the battle. It didn't feel like too much fighting to me. I know I read interviews where they were worried that this would be too much battle for an audience to handle, and I was like, no. In fact, this could have been a 2-part episode. I could have taken this in 2 separate episodes and been just as happy. I do have to say I'm disappointed about the Night King. I am disappointed that all of a sudden, poof, he's just dead, and now we're gonna move on. The next 3 episodes will be against Cersei. There should have been more here. we still don't even know what the Night King really wanted. We don't really know why. Like, there's so many things we just don't know. And I feel like it should have taken a little bit longer than 1 episode to defeat the Night King. So I am a little bit disappointed in that. I don't feel like it was a great finale for the Night King, because ever since episode 1, you know, the Army of the Dead, maybe not the Night King, was the #1 threat. And now in 3 episodes, he's done. So I think that's the only thing that I'm left just a little disappointed with, because I just feel like there was so much more story to tell with the Army of the Dead and with the Night King that we didn't get, because this is the last season. They have to wrap everything up. I'm kind of with George R.R. Martin on this. I don't think this should have been the last season of Game of Thrones. It could have gone on for a good 2 or 3 more seasons to fully wrap up these storylines, especially because I wanted to know more about the Night King. There's so many cool theories out there about the prince who was promised, about, you know, why he would take the babies from Craster, and you know, there are just so many cool things that I really wanted to learn more about, and we didn't get that. So it's a little bit of a bummer on that front, but at least we can all breathe a sigh of relief. In my mind, the Night King was the biggest threat, so I almost wish that they handled Cersei's stuff, you know, in the first 3 episodes, and then we could have handled the Night King. I just don't know how you're gonna beat this. I don't know how the next 3 episodes are going to be crazier than this, you know what I mean? I feel like anyone else that they kill off from this point will just be for no reason. I mean, I don't know, we're gonna have to see. I mean, next week's episode looks great. We're finally getting back to King's Landing. We're getting Cersei back in this, but it is really odd how quickly this battle was over. So, I don't know. Regardless, this episode was just insane, and I was just sitting there glued. I can't wait to go watch it again, honestly, and find all the things that I missed. I love getting to watch it a second, a third, a fourth time, and if I notice anything new, I'll be sure to put it on Twitter, and hopefully I didn't miss anything, but I probably did, because there's just so much to cover in this episode. But I want to know from you guys, what did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comments below. Also, in honor of the final season of Game of Thrones, winter is here, and no matter who you want on the Iron Throne at the end, someone has to storm the castle. And they're about to go storm the castle at King's Landing. So I am actually selling some limited edition teas, as you can see here, Storm the Castle. I have 2 options right now, and I'll put a link up on the screen as well in the description below, and you can get yours. They're only around for a limited time, so you gotta jump fast if you like them and if you'd like to get some, and I appreciate you guys supporting me. Make sure you check those out. Like I said, link is in the description below, and they're only around for a very, very limited time. They won't be available again, so if you like them, get them now. Thanks for watching, guys. I cannot believe this episode. It was just insane, and I'm gonna go cry about Jorah now for the next week, and I'll see you guys next Sunday. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my videos, and to check out more Game of Thrones stuff, you can click right here. See you next Sunday.